Pilates services, and I thought I would shoot a video for you just as I've started shooting. I've had a little visitor that's come to make himself comfortable. So I thought I would do a quick, we'll see how long it is, maybe 10 or 15 minutes spine mobility routine. So especially if you've been driving a lot or maybe sitting a lot, sometimes the lower back can get a little bit stiff and niggly. So these are some of my favorite lower back exercises. So just going to get Mr. Foy off there. So the first one is, some people call it a bridge and some people call it a spine curl. It just depends on where you did your training, but there are two different exercises actually. So we're going to start on our back. So I like to have a cushion. You can use a little towel. You don't have to have one, but I like a little bit of luxury, so I shall use that. So we're going to start on our back. So if you don't have a little cushion, you can just be in that position, but just be aware. Just be aware that your chin forward isn't up over there. So you want to bring the chin down to give you a little bit of length in the back of the neck. Okay? Your feet, I don't want to be directly under the knees, because when you go up there, the knees are shooting forward. So just have them a little bit more forward over there. And the knees are in line with your hips. So especially women, we tend to think our hips are much wider than they are. So we're just thinking of the hip bones over there, the knees want to be in line with that. So I'm not going to go too much into neutral spine. This is about spine mobility, so we're going to work the spine in a few different directions. So generally, we want the spine to be in a natural position, which is called a neutral spine. So you have that little curve. But actually, what I'm going to do with this one is take the spine into a bigger arch in the lower back, so that we get more movement in the lower parts of the spine. So I know you're going to get some people up there going, oh my God, it's wrong. It's not wrong, it's just different because of what I want to get out of this particular exercise, okay? So I've created that big arch. So I'm going into a little bit of extension in the lower back. And I'm going to breathe in. Now as I breathe out, I'm going to pull my belly button and send my spine down into the floor. And I'm using my abdominal muscles for this. And this is called a pelvic tilt, where we start to bring your hips closer towards the ribcage. But relax your bum cheeks in the back of your legs so that you are not using legs to do this movement. You want your abdominals to do this movement. So now you can see I've taken that curve out of the lower spine. And I'm just going to take that back into the other way. So releasing that, make that big arch in the back again, breathe in. And then as you breathe out, pull the tummy in, roll your hip bones towards your rib cage and imprint your lower spine into the floor. So when you start to imprint, the more you focus on these abdominal muscles and sending your sternum down, the more you're going to feel the abdominals activate. My legs and my bum cheeks are still nice and relaxed. I'm actually going to start to take this higher. So the more I squeeze down, I'm going to start to engage the glutes and start to send my hips up towards the ceiling. But rather than lifting as one, I want to tilt the pelvis and lift the vertebra off the mat as one. So that's kind of the difference between a bridge pose and a spine curl. So now once you get into the air, your basic spine curl is knees, hips, shoulders in one line. So if I just stick over there, it would be in one line. So for the first one, we'll just focus on this for a moment. So be aware that your shoulders aren't climbing up towards the ears. So really think of reaching towards the bottom of the mat or towards your feet. Now as you exhale, I want to keep the bum as high as I can and start to bring the spine down. So we're starting to work again to the mobility of the mid and lower back, drawing in that belly button. We come back to the center, and again, because I'm working on spine mobility, I'm going to take it all the way back into that position. So breathing in. As you exhale, roll the spine into the mat. Now squeeze your bum cheeks, send your hips up towards the ceiling. Reach your fingers towards your heels. Good. Now make sure you've got no weight in your neck or your head. So you don't want to be pushing down through there. It needs to be nice and relaxed over there. So again, this is your standard position that you will see in most books and in most classes. But again, I'm working on the back, on the spine. So I really want to open up hips. That will help start to release your lower back. I know there's a little bit of anatomy there. But from here, I'm actually going to start to push higher than that midline. Still haven't gone into my neck or my head, so be aware that you haven't put the weight down through there. So I could actually lift my head up. Sometimes if the hip flexors are tight, so this region here, the knees might want to pop out. So you want to engage those inner thighs just to keep the knees in line with your hips. And then again, start to come back down. And we're going to carry on with those for maybe 2 or 3 more. Take it into that big arch, breathing in, exhale. Squeezing your bum, setting it up. When I get to the midpoint, I like to stop there, breathe in, and then squeeze. Breathe in at the top, and then come back down. So depending on your body, you might feel this across the knees if you've got tight hip flexors, so these muscles down the front of your thighs. Generally people that sit a lot might have a bit of tightness there. The other thing I like to do to actually make this a little bit deeper is to put my feet on a block. So it actually elevates the feet a bit more, so you have to work harder. You get a deeper stretch or more movement in the lower back. So, and it's the same thing, breathing in, exhale, and take it up. So all I have to do there is I have to squeeze harder to get the hips higher. But that's going to put my back into a little bit more extension. Again, no weight in your neck or your head, so you can see this completely relaxing. My fingers are still reaching towards the toes, and I'm really pushing up there. So the lift is not coming from the chest, it's this region I'm trying to lift. And as I come down, now imagine that you've got a candle burning underneath your bum, so don't have a fart. But as you come down, how high can you keep your bum? Because what we're focusing is on this lower part of the spine now. This is where people's knees tend to flare out because it's quite tight, it might be pulling a little bit. So keep focusing on the knees in line with the hips. We come back to the center, take it back into the arch. We're only going to do one more, so breathe in. If you don't have a block, it doesn't matter, you just keep doing it on the floor. So exhaling as you go up, midpoint, breathe in, and then give that a little bit of an extra squeeze. No weight in your neck or your head, fingers are reaching towards your heels. And also check, are your ankles flaring out at all? So you want the weight evenly balanced between ball, blade and heel. And then we bring yourself back down, and once you come down, give your knees a cuddle. Good. So the next exercise we're going to do is side rolls. And we're going to have a little play with foot positioning and arm positioning. So we're going to start with the feet far away from the body. You can also have your hands out to the side. So we're going to have a little play with moving the hands. And this is actually going to get into spine mobility, but it's also going to get into the fascia of the body, especially in this lower part of the back, which can cause a lot of restriction in your movement and all of that. So legs are far away, arms out to the side. So we're going to send the lower back into the floor to support the back. So breathing in, so think of that pelvic tilt we've done in the spine column, it's not as big. So as you exhale, just take it over to the side. So we're using control. That's the whole thing about Pilates is contrology. That's what it used to be called. So when I go over to the side, the most important thing is that this whole upper back, the shoulder stays on the floor. So I'm exaggerating. We don't want that to happen. Okay, so you want that down. Breathe in, come back up. As you breathe out, hold it there, inhale. Belly button down, send the lower back down. We take the knees over to the other side. Again, focus on the shoulder blade, what's happening with the shoulder blade with the opposite side. And then come back up. So now, the feet were hip width, we're going to bring the feet in a little bit closer together, but not touching. Same thing again, breathing in. Lower back is down, taking it over. Now personally, I don't really feel much. I tend to feel this a little bit more across the knees, but it's going to depend on where your body has tightnesses. Especially for men, sometimes they might feel it a little bit more above on the top of the leg, just because the structure of their anatomy, and then we come back again. And then can take the arms into a cactus position. Obviously, if your hands don't touch the floor, don't force them, just your hands might be like that, that's fine. What it's working on is the fascia in the back of the arms and that. So again, we'll take it into cross. Use your exhale to help bring the knees up. So we're not just flinging the body around, okay? We're using the abdominals to move the legs. As you breathe out, think of this, pulling your knees back up. So again, we're trying to pull the belly button in, so we're trying to avoid any arching. And then once you come back up, you bring your feet as close to the bum as you can. So you can have the hands there, you can have the hands there. So I'm going to keep them over here for this one. So again, feet are hip width to start with. Breathe in. And then we take it over to the side. So now I know that I do have some tightness in the upper back. So this side is not too bad for me. I can get the knees far. But be aware that this hip doesn't shoot up to the ceiling. Okay, so it wants to be controlled. This is not about just flinging your body. And then as you exhale, pull the tummy in as though you want your lower back to go down onto the floor. So there's no arch there. Inhale. And then over to the other side. So I know this is my tightest side. So if I'm not careful, this opposite shoulder is going to lift. So I've got to pull that shoulder down, which means I can't get the legs as far. But I'm going to try, because that's what's stretching off those muscles there and the fascia. So the fascia is like a cling film wrap in the body. It's always like a mummy wrapping. So we'll do that one more time on each side. And all around your muscles, around each set of muscles, there's like fascia. And it's just this huge wrapping inside of your body. Keeps everything glued in together so that your calf muscle doesn't float up to your shoulder. But it can get very, very sticky and very tight and very stuck. So if you don't move fascia, you start getting very
Okay, hold on. Yeah.
So fascia can cause a lot of restriction in the body. So now I'm going to actually put my feet a little bit further away, and just to give you another arm variation, this time we'll have the arms above the head. Now, it might be that if you restrictive, you can put blocks under there or a pillow, or just keep the hands there. So remember, we don't want pain in our bodies. So feet are a little bit further away, hip width apart. Take it over to one side. So the tummy's pulled in. I could feel myself arching there a little bit. So tummy's pulled in, and then take it across. The more you focus on the abdominals, pulling towards the spine, the less flinging you'll be able to do in your body, okay? So pull the tummy in. So we've all got that pair of jeans in our cupboard, and it's our favourite pair of jeans from 20 years ago that we are determined to fit back into one day, as if that's going to happen. So you want to think of that, you zipping yourself into the pair of jeans. So as you take your knees over, be aware that your belly button and your spine is not shooting up into that direction. We want to keep it pulled back down. And then you're focusing on the shoulders, keeping the shoulders back and down, back and down, back and down. And then once you come up, bring your feet a little bit closer together but not touching. And then same thing. And you will have started to notice that some directions are easier than other directions. So maybe your left side is more restrictive than your right side. I also notice that my left side is a little bit weaker than my right side. I find it harder to pull the legs up. So I'm going to do one more, so pulling in that tummy. So again, yes, I can get my knees to the floor, but you can see now how that shoulder comes off. So I'm trying not to get that shoulder to come off there. And then we're going to come back to the center. So for the last one, I want you to choose the one that you felt you got the most out of. So not the one that feels the nicest, it's probably one that you struggled with the most. So I'm going to take my feet back to there, and I'm going to go to my left side. And I know that I'm quite restrictive in this right side. So your fascia it goes diagonally across the body. So although I'm going to my left, it's actually actually getting to the right shoulder as well. So from here, I'm just going to focus on trying to keep that shoulder down and trying to take those knees over without just letting the weight of my body carry me over. So I'm actually trying to stop that gravity working. I'm going to come back and I'm just going to do one more on that side. So breathing in. So I can feel that shoulder. So I'm trying to keep it down. And then come back up again. Good. So that's worked on, we'll come to seats now. So we've done a little bit of extension in the spine curl. We've done a little bit of rotation, turn the spine, and now we're going to do a little bit of forward flexion. So generally most people don't need forward flexion because we're in that shape all the time anyway. But the reason I'd like to do it today is to also get into the back of the leg. So that can also restrict movement in your lower back if you're quite tight in the hamstrings. So that's what we're going to focus on. Now, if you suffer with sciatica or any lower back issues, you can sit on a block. But just be aware that if your back of your knees feel like they're pushing through, it's called hyperextending knees. We don't really want that, so you can keep your knees a little bit soft. Okay? It might be that if you've got really tight hamstrings so you can't straighten your legs, a little block or pillows or towels or something can help release that as well. I'm going to come off. And you can, even if you need to sit like that, you can sit like that. If you're tight, you're still going to feel this. It doesn't matter if those legs are not straight. So this is called from the hip. Comes from the reformer, I believe, from the machine. So we'll start with the hands next to the body and we're sitting nice and tall. So you want to pull those shoulders back and lift your heart. This is probably one of the hardest positions to sit in and then activate your legs. So be aware that we're not all scrunched up like that. So it's a good idea if you have a mirror, look in the mirror. I know people don't like looking, but look at the posture rather than, what does your lipstick look like? So pull the shoulders back and down. Now breathe in. We're going to drop chin to chest, and I'm going to try and get the crown of my head to my knees as I swish my hands forward. So as I breathe out, long exhale, and then inhale, back up again, exhale, inhale. And you can have a little competition with yourself each time to see if you can go deeper. Stay there for the full exhale. We'll do one more. And then we'll bring yourself back up again. So that's just a very small spine mobility routine. If you can incorporate this into your everyday life, you will start to see benefits from doing it. So I do know that sometimes the thought of getting on a mat for an hour, but this short little workout, while you're waiting for the kettle to boil, you can do one of those exercises and that will help you. So I hope you enjoyed that. Subscribe to our channel and we'll be posting more videos soon. So I'm Tanya, take care, bye!